Well, I had never really, the only things I knew from California were like when Elmer and Aaron and some of these brothers would go down and they would bring information back because we all couldn't make the trip. The Breakfast for Kids program, the medical clinics, I think that these were like nationwide programs or whatever. But one of the biggest thing that I think was different between Seattle and California, I think the intensity in California was a lot higher, because especially in Oakland. And Oakland was known at that time for having the worst pig department, period. The worst police department, period. And those guys were just outright brutal and murderous or whatever. You have to remember that even nowadays, if you talk about the East Coast versus the West Coast in Seattle or down south, Seattle has always been a little sleepy. We've always been a little bit behind the times, even as far as fashions. We always get things a little bit later. And plus down there, I think the black communities was much bigger, was much larger. And I think there was a lot more brutality that were going on in the California communities with black people down there. So I think that there was more of an urgency to band together. There was more of a close-knitness with the people down in California, because it's kind of up here in Seattle, everybody was kind of like going their separate ways, or the networking wasn't as strong. So it's kind of like we had to wake people up. Like Malcolm said, you can't get people to follow you. You can't, a sleeping society or sleeping people, you have to wake them up. You got to shock them. Once you wake them up and educate them to what's going on, then you can get some action. But I think the biggest thing was that they had more party members down there. You had more things going on that were a lot more overt. And just the fact that, that was the, but that's where that's where it started. They were the original, and everything happened down there, and we were the first party, that was pretty much christened and put together outside of California. But I think the biggest difference was that, when you talk about geographics, that to have such a larger black community down there, and if you want to talk about a ghetto, that was definitely it. Because the Central District up here was always kind of spread out. I don't even know if we can even call the Central District a black community anymore 35 years later, because of the way things are. And like I said, you didn't see white people walking down the street back in '67 and '68. You didn't see white people jogging through the community or out there walking their dogs and things like that. They weren't buying up property here in the Central District. The banks, they weren't financing anybody to buy any property here. Now all of a sudden, over the last 20, 25 years, this is probably some of the hottest property around, because you're literally 15 minutes from anywhere. You want to go to Northgate, you want to go to South Center, Tacoma, so you're centrally located. But to me, that was the biggest difference. And plus the fact that you had, that was the leadership. California was the leadership. And maybe at that period that you had a lot more righteous brothers to pick from that would really get out there and wanted to make the party what it should be, and to really have a strong, not necessarily a strong leadership, but to have a party and to sustain it. I think in California you have so many people down there that you always had somebody coming in, and somebody left, you always had more and more people ready to stand by.